This next clip is something that I kind of came across, and I thought it would be a good segue into a conversation about kind of where media is right now. We have a couple different stories about some of that stuff, and this one in particular I thought was interesting because, as Joseph knows and some other people do, I kind of have my own axe to grind with Disney, and I thought this was interesting. So we're just gonna play this, and then we'll talk about it.
So I want to talk quickly about Black Panther, because that was one of the last gasps to bring Black people back into the fold of Africa.
They're bringing that back.
But yeah, well, the original, when I saw and once again, nothing is no pun intended. Nothing is black or white. Cause it's like, cool, Black Panther. Okay, my son can watch a movie and see like heroes and of different varieties, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But when you break that, and I'm gonna do a whole show on this eventually one day, but just a quick synopsis of Black Panther, what happens is you have an African prince come to America to try to help Black people, and they come here, and I guess and they kill him, and they leave his son Killmonger behind, which is half African American or ADOS and half Wakandan. Yeah. And when he goes back and fights the real Black, the existing Black Panther, he beats him fair and square.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Wakandans team up with the CIA to take him out of power.
Isn't that crazy?
Holy shit! It's like, what? Excuse me for cussing. I mean, but it's like, what?
Yeah.
Hold on. Now let's run that back again.
I know.
The guy has actual rights to the throne.
Yeah.
Through his father.
Yeah.
He goes back and wins it fair and square. And then they work with the CIA to take him out of power, because he said, let's take our resources and give it to Black people across the world. They said, no, you can't do that.
You can't be doing that.
So that's what Disney is putting out. So I mean, now you see my conflict here. It's like,
yeah, but that review that you just gave there in 5 sentences, no one heard that review anywhere.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's kind of thinking back when you think about the Marvel movies, and maybe even I don't know if they have any other movies with the CIA involved, in the Marvel movies.
Yeah. Civil War, pretty much,
or the CIA is portrayed in a positive light. So it makes you think. People don't understand with media how far back the ties of the government to media is.
Yeah.
Whether if it's news media, I think, or movie industry, especially when we look at someone like Disney.
Yeah, sorry. I had never. I love when people sort of flip the script on pop culture, and they go, hey, everyone loves this thing, but did you ever notice this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I remember feeling when I watched Black Panther for the first time, I never felt that Killmonger, even though they tried to make him look like a bad guy, that he really was a villain. I didn't put it together so eloquently as Mo Fax did,
right?
But I was like, well, these things are weird. And now that Mo connected those dots for me, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's strange, but it has a lot of similarities with our actual government too.
Yeah, and
I will say this with Disney: Killmonger's one of the few villains, other than maybe Thanos. I don't know if you could think of anyone else. Killmonger's the only one of the only ones you can sit there and say they actually got a villain right. Because at the end of the movie, I remember thinking, I don't think Killmonger's the actual villain here.
Yeah, I think
there, this other side actually is.
It's definitely less clear at the end, right?
Right.
Because Killmonger is, you're right. I think he and Thanos are two of the only characters from the MCU that stand out to me as far as villains are concerned, because they're usually pretty cookie cutter. They're trying to destroy something or gain more power by doing something, and they don't generally have backstories. Whereas Killmonger's backstory is essentially like,
I want to help my people out.
Yeah, in almost any other movie, he would have been the hero. He's displaced from his what would you call it?
his country.
From his
His
country,
people.
from his potential right to rule.
Right.
He has every right. He ultimately wins, and he becomes the next heir. He becomes the next Black Panther. That's the arc of a hero in almost any other Disney movie, Marvel movie, whatever the case may be, whatever story you're telling. A lot of the time, that's how it works. And then you have the current Black Panther who loses, goes to America because he thinks he's been wronged, and then and then gets the CIA to help him
do a
overturn
regime change
Yeah.
to get it a ruler that's more friendly to the American
Maybe-
policy and
yeah,
agenda
that's
in the
exactly
world
what
to
it-
establish democracy everywhere.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it doesn't take away from some of the maybe more shady stuff that Killmonger does in the movie or whatever, but like,
Right.
you kind of have to put that aside because you're apples and oranges, right? Like who really is doing the right thing in this situation.
Yeah.
And it's also funny because one of the best parts of Killmonger's like actually smart too, because there's, I guess, in the movie, I honestly don't know how he gets his powers through in the actual comics, like the old school stuff. But the flower that gives Black Panther his power, Killmonger burns them all. He ingests it so he gets the power, and then he burns the rest of them. And you're like, this guy is smart. He's a better fighter. How is it that most of Wakanda just went like, no, we want the other guy? Like, I don't even
because of his violent nature.
I don't know. Like, he never even came off necessarily as a violent character.
Like bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's the way to say it. He wasn't trying to just murder to murder.
he was calculated.
In his own mind, in his own right, it had a. I don't want to say justifiable reason because murder is always wrong, but in his own mind,
it was
there
justified in his
reasons
mind for
there.
sure.
It wasn't just I'm going to murder just to murder because I want to kill people.
Right.
He had reasons there.
There's definitely a revenge aspect to his character.
Right.
And so it's interesting. I really actually
It's nuanced.
Yeah, and that's not what you get from characters a lot of the time. And then they almost kind of screwed themselves a little bit because like he's kind of better written than T'Challa.
Yeah.
T'Challa is just like the prince, and it's his right.
Cookie cutter with T'Challa.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like role reversal as far as the characters are concerned. It is what it is. I think that's kind of funny, but this is the kind of stuff that you and I talk about a lot, where there's all of these weird, like subtle, almost manipulative things that are in movies that, whether they're really having any sort of effect on the audiences or not, they're there, and it's weird that this regime, coming in to change out a regime because the United States doesn't like what it's doing, is funny. And
speaking of which,
yeah,
Syria,
yeah. What happened? What happened with that?
Yeah, I saw today, or was it yesterday? I think it was this morning. I saw that 22 Syrian civilians died from Joe Biden's drone strike. So, yay for America and our values.
Yeah,
I guess
where
our values really are. What was it that our cultural norms are different from China's?
Yeah. Why don't they have bells ringing in places in the United States for their deaths? It's
right.
Man, and it's one of those things.
I'm just glad, dude. When we woke up this morning and I read that, I was like, I feel so safe knowing that happened and that Trump isn't treating mean things. That's my first thought. I was like, I'm so glad. Now,